It's all starting to make sense. The constant posts.
Everything is beginning to make a terrifying sense to the frequent updates on tickets. The Indiana Fever are essentially, for the first time since the generational talent, they were on their hands and knees pleading with people to get tickets. Caitlin Clark showed up. Take a moment to consider that we are discussing preseason games where seats are still available for an enticing $280.
I've never seen them ask more. I've never seen them demand more. I've never seen them tweet more. When it comes to ticket sales and trying to sell out an arena, I have never seen the Indiana Fever ask more than they are asking now. And I am beginning to find
the first game at home, there are entire parts that are unsold and utterly empty. This is the exact same group that, last year, it sold out its home opener in less than an hour. This franchise is the one with the largest, most potent attraction in women's basketball history, but supporters are now vociferously explaining to them why they are declining to purchase. They can clearly recall the events of the previous season, and they will not be duped once more.
Lets us all know tickets are moving a little slowly for the Indiana Fever. When you compare it to the first year, flew off the shelves. When you compare it to the second year, hashtag now you know, flew off the shelves. They couldn't keep them long enough. Now, we are a week away from preseason. A lot of tickets available. We are about 2 weeks away from the regular season. A lot of tickets available. Not only are they available, but the Indiana Fever, these tickets are high. Like, I wouldn't spend that much money on tickets.
So, allow me to ask you this. When the most well-liked and captivating player in the entire sport is on your team, and a week before the start of the season, you still fail to sell out your home opener, does that indicate a serious issue? Does that clearly indicate to you that your supporters are totally? Have you lost faith in your organization's capacity to manage that player? Or is this really a straightforward tale of rising ticket prices, pricing, and a challenging economy? There is a significant problem in Indiana, so let's get started.
Is the juice worth the squeeze? Especially when you don't know the role of your favorite player. People remember last year. Day to day, and they would spend tickets and spend money and spend.
Now, let's examine the Indiana Fever's ticket sales in more detail. Right now, because, to be honest, this is one of those classic cases when the data themselves convey a tale that the organization fervently hopes you won't pay attention. The Fever have been persistently, almost desperately. They are tweeting about the availability of tickets on social media.
Caitlin Clark, Stephanie White said before the game that the fact that she is day-to-day means that the imaging she got today is good news.
Email reminders are being sent out. They are exerting more effort than they have ever had to in order to encourage supporters to purchase seats. And I can't emphasize this enough. This is absolutely unheard of for any team that has Caitlin Clark on its roster. During the first 2 years of a Caitlin Clark era's surge, the virtual shelves were completely sold out of the tickets.
Craziest thing about this last groin injury with Caitlin Clark is how it's been covered. The day after she had the groin injury, she was listed as day-to-day. And then a couple weeks after that, then she was listed to being out indefinitely. Now, ESPN had August 12th as the circled return date for Caitlin Clark to get back onto the court. And just yesterday, she was listed as a game time decision for today's game against the Dallas Wings. And then after practice yesterday, Coach Stephanie White basically came out and said, like, no, Caitlin Clark hasn't even been practicing. So they changed it from a game time decision to her being out. This has been all over the place, and I get it to a certain extent. The fans, the media does not need to know every little thing that's going on with Caitlin Clark's injuries, especially a star player like that. We will never know all the information, nor should we know all the information. And that's actually good for Caitlin. It protects her for when she does come back on the court. She can't be targeted. Teams can't use a certain injury or ailment against her if people don't really know what is going on. But the reporting of her timeline in general, there has been no rhyme or reason to what has been shared about.
Do anybody recall the first year? In a matter of minutes, the tickets were gone, a feeding frenzy ensued, and the second year, The story was exactly the same. Tickets were literally unavailable for more than a few seconds due to the fever. People were rushing. They did everything they could to get into the games, including fighting over seats. The secondary market websites such as SeatGeek and StubHub went completely crazy. Purchasing tickets at face value is unthinkable because the demand was simply unbelievably high. That was the full impact of the Caitlin Clark effect, my friends. She was the most attractive player in women's basketball, and she was the only reason the Indiana Fever won the championship. WNBA's most sought-after ticket. However, let's fast forward to the present. The preseason is in just 2 weeks and 1 week away. There are still a ton of tickets available after the regular season tip-off. Furthermore, we're not merely discussing not just any old Tuesday night game, but the nosebleed seats in the rafters versus a team at the bottom of the league. And oh, the big home opening versus the Dallas Wings is what we're referring to. There are whole areas of a game that should be a guaranteed sellout. Even though upper deck seats cost more than $100, they remain unused. The cost of middle portions ranges from $300 and $400, and be prepared to spend between $700 and $900 if you want seats just behind the bench. The most absurd aspect is that no one is purchasing them. What's even more unbelievable? The cost of the preseason tickets. From $100 to $280. Give that some thought. Preseason. The standings do not even take these games into account. Coaches are experimenting with rotations, and key players in these elevated practice games may only play for a few short minutes, and the Fever have the gall to charge $280 for one of them. Seats. For games that are effectively high-level scrimmages, such cost is completely outrageous. Thus, it's understandable that people are thinking, yeah, after examining those costs and their wallets. No, thank you. Naturally, the Fever Group and its most devoted supporters will now appeal to the economy and the main offender. And you know what? They're somewhat correct. Petrol prices are undoubtedly higher. Airfare is absurdly exorbitant. The cost of living has increased dramatically overall. Going to the grocery shop is like taking a punch to the stomach. These are all unquestionably true. Economic factors undoubtedly have a big impact on how people decide how to spend their extra money, and sports tickets are considered a luxury. Nobody disputes that fact. This is the crucial weakness in that argument. Though, last year, the economy was also really difficult. One significant problem has been inflation for a number of years. Nevertheless, last season's tickets sold out nearly immediately in spite of everything. Thus, you must inquire as to what has changed since then. Why are the fans who are more than happy to pay? Are you afraid to get tickets this year because of the premium inflated costs from previous year? The economics isn't the solution. Trust is the solution. Alternatively said, it's the utter collapse of trust within the institution. Its fan base, all as a result of their terrible treatment of Caitlin Clark during the previous season. Let's go back in time, Lane, and discuss the specific events from the previous year that have made fans extremely cautious about purchasing tickets this time. When Caitlin Clark was hurt, it all began. The group instantly moved into this ambiguous, annoying, daily mode with her status. Every game became into a big unknown. Will she participate in the game? Will she not play? Only a few minutes before tip-off did anyone have an idea. Consequently, fans would arrive at the venue weeks or even months after purchasing expensive tickets, humming with anticipation, only to discover at the last minute that Clark had not even put on a suit. Listen to this, please. Coach Stephanie White stated before to a game that Caitlin's daily routine indicates that the imaging she received day was excellent news, but her status was still unknown. One fan in the original work told a terrible tale of how they rented a hotel directly across from Indianapolis after flying there with a friend. The street from the arena, they purchased their tickets in advance to ensure a good spot, and when they arrived, their favorite player wasn't even participating. That is a soul-crushing, utterly horrible experience. You buy flights with all that money. You purchase pricey tickets, reserve a hotel room, and devote time, effort, and emotional energy to this trip to witness a performance by Caitlin Clark. She's not even in the building when you arrive. It's a complete bait and switch. Another fan commented that they purchased tickets at the beginning of the season and paid the full price for them. After spending a pricey evening in Indianapolis, They took their family to 4 consecutive games following Caitlyn's injury, hoping to see her come back. You can't blame them for adopting a wait-and-see strategy this year. They wish to avoid being burnt once more. That one sentiment alone is what's killing me. The Fever's current ticket sales. Fans recall being taken advantage of. They can clearly recall the emotion of feeling trapped, and as like the company was performing a circus show by hanging Caitlin Clark in front of them, simply to maintain high attendance and maintain interest in a losing team, since this is the playbook that. It was really nasty, and Fever was running. They had declared that Caitlin would soon return. What would fans do then? They would hurry to purchase tickets for that forthcoming game, believing they will be present for her victorious return. The team would then release a statement just prior to the game that said, "Actually,